Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Just want to make sure everything's going okay. So before we start with what we want to share with you, and what we want to share with you is actually a message we got from the Galactic Federation earlier this morning of a very, very serious and somber note. But first, we also want to share something serious and somber. This is our dear friend Cheryl, who has been fighting cancer, and she is in emergency surgery right now as we speak. So please send your prayers and healing wishes to her. And she's a dear friend. She's been with the channel for over 3 years. I mean, close to when I started it. She's been with us a long time. And so please, we'll ask for your healing energies and prayers for Cheryl as she's in emergency surgery at this moment.
Yes, please do. And we really appreciate any really good energies you guys can send her way. She is very, very special to us.
There's been so much coming out right now. Another dear, dear friend of ours from North Carolina was sharing, her own family's struggles that they're going through right now. We're hearing it from so many people where they have loved ones that are literally, facing life and death situations all of a sudden out of the blue. I really hope everybody can wake up as many people as possible. It's so critical we wake people up to what's really going on here in this upside down world, because it's really hitting the fan hard right now, and it's hitting so many people personally right now. And this friend in North Carolina, her and her husband are very, very awake. And actually, when I first moved to North Carolina, I stayed with them. And we had not met at that time. They just took me, into their home because they liked the channel. And I felt right away there was a kinship there. And, they were wonderful to me, and they also have been great friends since, and they've also faced their own struggles, and now they have family members that are in circumstances not unlike Cheryl's, and many people right now out of the blue, so to speak, maybe we should say a different color, are facing tremendous health issues, and they're not necessarily older people, not necessarily high risk groups. But all of a sudden, lots of heart problems, lots of blood clots, lots of strokes, lots of cancer just popping up out of apparently nowhere. But, we know better. We understand what's going on. And, we are really hitting it. We are into now what's going to be some of the worst of the most trying times, just so everyone is really aware. So again, thank you for the healing prayers. And one of our other family members, and I'll just mention his name, Scotty. He also is asking for healing prayers, so we'll send healing prayers to Scotty Warp Speed as well. Lots of people are going through just trauma, losing family members, and also losing the battle in some cases of awakening family members to what's going on. And unfortunately, we need to work a little bit harder to wake up people.
Absolutely. I understand people usually only want to hear one thing, and they want to hear these things their way only. That's why we need to be careful and talking to people and just planting seeds, little seeds. Let it be tolerable. But my gosh, once you plant those seeds, they grow. You plant it, you water it, and it grows. So we need to work a little harder on reaching our family members that we love.
Major U.S. cities risk losing about 1/3 of their police forces. As we've been talking about all the people, the military that's losing a ton of people, the police forces. Again, I think people are waking up and putting things together and understanding the bigger picture. And crime is, increasing in many areas, and many people are noticing how many people are maybe a little bit more irritable, angry, and can even seem a little possessed at times now. As we've been telling everyone, you've got to detox. We ran out, and again, we didn't want to, but we had a need to run out to the store because we're really trying to limit our exposure in public, and we plan on becoming complete hermits, total
Yep.
complete hermits at some point in time. Hopefully sooner than later. And we just did stock up even more because it's go time. So the guides have told us, don't worry. They basically said, don't worry about the money. Get what you need now, and be ready for the long haul. Because again, many of us will not probably be allowed to simply go into a store to buy something, or even allowed to maybe even order stuff online. Everything is changing, and it's changing very, very rapidly. There is most definitely a very long-term plan afoot, and we've brought to light the fact that this plan could be as old as 1871 or older. I mean, really, it could be way older, but it's manifesting now. This is all part of this bigger scheme, and this is what the guides, again, have been showing me since 1984. And this article talking about why Russian and Chinese warships teaming up to circle Japan is a big deal. Everybody that thinks, well, we've seen bluff and bluster before and nothing's going to happen, they need to pour some cold water over their head, because this time is different. This is absolutely different. And, there will be, and, we've seen, of course, the hired paid people that work for the powers that be and work for the corporations that the powers that be operate through. They'll always come in and try to, sideline people bringing up questions, try to divert attention when it comes to a video, like the La Palma video with the grid. We didn't say that this, is evidence, the grid is evidence that there's something going on. We said that we got from the guides that something's going on that's not natural. And so we listen to the guides first and foremost, and more people will be listening to that still quiet inner voice in their minds and their heads as time goes on, and as they get more in touch with their intuition and the other beings that are around them that are there to help guide them. They're not there to live their lives for them. So again, ultimately it's up to us what we choose to do with information. But the guides are there because they do care. They love you. This is their purpose. Many times our guides are people that have been with us in other lives. Could have been past spouses. It could have been past parents, past children, past best friends, things along those lines. And they're on the other side right now, rooting you on, pulling for you. In many cases, that they're dying to tell you something that you might be missing. They're dying to tell you to prepare, to watch out, to get yourself organized, spend the time getting some seedlings going instead of, watching the ball game or whatever it is. They are there, and, all traditions have, these myths, legends, and stories of these benevolent beings that are out there to help us, guardian angels, per se. They are there. It's learning to listen to them. And yes, this time is very, very different. Here you see the Polish Prime Minister warning that the EU could start World War #3 by withholding money from Warsaw. There's so much more than meets the eye here. Poland's going to increase troop numbers on the Belarusian border to around 10,000. this is what we have gotten. Thank you, Peter in Poland, and thank you also, Rumi, over in Germany, for confirming like these movements and what you're hearing locally. You know, we have a lot of family members over in Europe per se, and I was looking at it, and it was 45% of the people that we have um, sessions with come from Europe, which was interesting to note. And we have many people that come from Australia and New Zealand, and I know down in Australia, you know, there's serious lockdown coming, complete lockdown coming pretty much. And, you know, saddened to see that so many are being forced to do things against their will. And again, if we had maybe even just spoke up a little bit louder earlier, we could have nudged things, but we got to speak up as loud as we can now, before, again, it gets too hard. It's just like when you have a bully, if you let that bully keep bullying you, he'll just get worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm. And really, all we have is the now. You know, we don't have the past, we just have the present, and we need to use that, use it to the best of our ability to prepare ourselves first and then those around us. And really, all you need is the desire to want to make a change. And once you've made that decision, the doors start to open.
Most definitely, most definitely. And you know, I've shared with you guys in the past my own upbringing and all, and so you know, we were the poorest family in a relatively affluent area, because my parents, you know, they never had money, but they always wanted us to have the best opportunities. So they wanted us to go to the best schools, things like that we could, even though neither of them ever made more than 20,000 in their lives, never owned a house, never even owned two cars at one time. So we were always week to week. A group of kids would bully me all the time. They would, for 2 years, they would just basically, you know, 6, 7, 8 of them circle me whenever they could and just, you know, pound the crap out of you. And so, you know, this caused me to be very, very introverted. And I did an awful lot of reading. And I actually always meditated ever since I was a little kid. I just took straight to it. But then, you know, I saw a Chuck Norris movie, and then I also saw Lou Ferrigno doing The Incredible Hulk, and so went and bought a weight set and signed up for martial arts at a local school. And over the summer vacation, trained and got in shape. And then when they circled me, I instinctively went on the attack against the biggest and strongest. And then nobody bothered with me the rest of like junior high and high school. They all left me alone. Sometimes we do have to push back, even though we want to be absolute pacifists. But there are ways of doing it, you know, that are not going to be, um, you know, so violent. It's just simply, you know, hitting them where it counts. And obviously, you know, the monetary system is one of the biggest means of control. And also not being afraid to just stand up to the bully.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's so important. It's not standing up to the bully just gives the bully more power. We have to call it for what it was and what it is, even you know, when they're constantly revising things and constantly saying, "Oh, you can't say that." So what we obviously are seeing here, you know, there's mass migration of migrants, and Peter was just saying how, you know, in Poland it's very homogenous, so you know the migrants are not able to blend in as much, and I don't think that's a reason to think that there could not be any of these sleepy entities that we're talking about coming in, because they are. It just means that we're much closer to actually things going into the action phase instead of the preparation phase. And what we woke up to today with the guides coming through in the Galactic Federation, this is what they're talking about. You know, sleepers are being activated. They're being awakened. These cells are being turned on. It's fascinating to see too just how they're being turned on. We had one of our dear family members, Nicole, who we love, and she's on a farm, 120 acres or so, I believe, and she's on she's in a very, very rural area on the east, and she had people come up to her farm that wanted to buy every egg that she had. And not only that, they wanted to buy her chickens. And she said, well, my chickens aren't for sale because I use them to, sell eggs. Um, and the thing that made her nervous was the nationality. Now, we don't want to breed any sort of um, negativity towards anybody's nationality. But at the same time, you have to recognize that a lot of these sleepy entities don't even know they're sleepy entities. And some will be saying, what is he talking about? Think to, again, MK Ultra. Think to all these programs that showed that the human mind can be influenced and perhaps even controlled by technologies. And, this is stuff that's been, it's been tested, tried, and, for decades and decades and decades. We're going way, way back. There's certain technologies that can send out signals and frequencies that most definitely can affect our DNA. Absolutely can affect our DNA. And there are certain technologies that are so small you would never ever see them. You would need a microscope to see them. And they could be there. And they could be in certain people that have been here for decades and don't even realize that they are a sleepy one of these entities. They don't even realize it. But through the technologies, that one technology that's so small you can't see it without a microscope, and also the frequency, it could literally turn them on, so to speak, where they're no longer the person that they were, no longer the same agenda. All of a sudden realizing, oh, I have a different job to do. I'm no longer going to work at Walmart, or I'm no longer going to work at the bank, or I'm no longer I have to meet up with these other people now, and where to start going to this new place and start acquiring perhaps farmland, or scouting out certain areas, near the power plants and things like that.
Right. And, they don't, it's another thing where they do this mimicking. You notice that in the 3D realm, and when it comes to our abilities, they always mimic things. Like they mimic instant messaging when we can do it with our minds. They mimic information going back and forth online. Again, we can do this with our minds. We all awaken at some point in our life, hopefully we do this naturally, but there's instances in certain cases where this can happen, and it can happen in a generational type of way, but it's also programmed into people, so they don't even know. So they awaken to a new reality, but it's not in the natural sense.
And so they're coming online, basically, so to speak. And this is what we got from, again, the G-Fed. They have said that yes, they're moving into place and starting to operate. And this operation might not look like an overt takeover. It might look more like acquisition and restructuring. People coming together again to perhaps be around some of the most productive growing areas, for instance, or other areas that would be of interest and need to be secured as soon as things get really hot in an overt manner. So you're going to be seeing these groups coming together. They are coming together. Many people will be suspicious. In World War II, unfortunately, many Americans of a certain nationality were rounded up and put into camps because they were from a certain background. And is that right? Well, ultimately, the whole division that we see on the earth is one of division by the controllers for the controllers in order to keep us fighting amongst each other. So this is part of the bigger purpose. And you could go back to the Bible, Tower of Babel, and somehow people are always trying to find the bad in the Tower of Babel from the perspective of humans actually being unified of one mind and one purpose and working together. And yet they can't recognize that then, quote unquote, God with the small g says, come, let us go down there in the plural, as if it's, the Holy Spirit and Yeshua, Jesus, that this God, the Creator, is talking to, which is not the case at all. And it doesn't take too much spiritual insight to see that. It's just a matter of deprogramming oneself. So no, the controllers need us fighting each other all the time. And that doesn't mean, again, that the people, again, of Russia, China, and the US and other nations are naturally enemies with each other. The people of the globe could get along. It's just a matter of the fact that the controllers don't want us getting along. So everything they do is to cultivate division, to cultivate racial tensions, to cultivate tensions of every sort, the left versus the right. And I see it in the politicians that I keep an eye on Twitter, because some people that might seem very, very awake, calling things for what they are, and then they come out with other statements that are just so incredibly ignorant that I know they're not that ignorant, but they are part of the plan. They are part of the divisiveness. So we have to recognize this. And again, the way to ultimate peace is the people of the world recognizing it and getting out of this situation by refusing to destroy each other for them. That's the ultimate goal, is wake up and move beyond this. Move beyond the division. The people of the world need to wake up. But unfortunately, right now, at this moment, their plans are such and they are in place where, conflict is close, very, very close. But that doesn't mean it has to last as long as they want or develop in the way they want. If we keep putting the intention out, there was a group of people that were just meditating in Italy, and they were doing it in a protest form, against the dates for men that are out there, but they were doing it in such a peaceful way, just sitting there in the public square, putting out Om, which is the sound of the universe, the sound of creation itself. It was beautiful, and we want to thank our family member that sent us that video. Just recognize what's going on, guys, because yes, as we've been saying, the time for final preps is pretty much over. So, get yourself as situated as you can. Keep your vibrations high. Keep putting out the positive intent, and recognize that we have to, as a world, rise above this. As a world, it's more than just anything that's happening local. This is huge. This is the shedding of the system of control. That's really what we're all about in these times. They know it's coming. They can't stop it. But just like spoiled little brats, they're going to try to take everybody down with them. And we want to thank all of our supporters on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. And also just want to reiterate to everybody that we are on Brighteon, and we are able to post on Brighteon. Bitchute we're not able to post on for whatever reason. We opened up multiple channels there. It was actually going really well. And we are on Rumble as well. And we did a Rumble Brighteon only video yesterday. And, it's stuff we cannot talk about on, YT. So do check that out as well. As always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.